Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have a fascinating mission. It's part consumer guide, part economic analysis, and really part history lesson.
He definitely is.
We are diving deep into a whole stack of genuinely made in the USA products, the kind of stuff that just screams quality and ingenuity.
And what's so interesting, when you look at our sources, is this philosophy of American production. We're not just looking at things to buy.
Right.
We're looking at this idea of the two gifts. You give the actual item to someone you love, sure, but you're also at the same time giving financial support to a fellow American family or business.
It's an investment in your neighbor. I like that.
It is. Pure and simple.
And we should be crystal clear up front. This is not a list of paid endorsements or anything like that.
Oh.
We found these companies through research from friends, saw them on the road. We kicked them because the stories were just... They highlighted this amazing blend of ingenuity and just real quality.
And when you look at all of them together, what just jumps out is the resilience. The resilience of American manufacturing.
Yeah.
We're talking about businesses that go back nearly a century to World War II, and then all the way up to startups launched just a couple of years ago.
So it's a real portrait of that American spirit, creative, resourceful.
And always figuring out how to reinvent things right here at home, even with all the global pressure.
Okay, so let's unpack that resilience. Let's start with the enduring stuff, the American craftsmanship that's literally built to last for generations.
And for that, you have to start with the Sullivan Glove Company out of Bend, Oregon.
Since 1941, they make these incredible premium leather gloves for, well, everything.
For the ranch, the workshop, for wearing into town. But what's really fascinating is their whole approach to the supply chain.
They source everything from inside the U.S.
Everything. Domestically.
Yeah.
Which is, almost unheard of for clothing and accessories now.
Mm.
And get this, they do it with a tiny team. Just 10 people.
10 people, and how many gloves do they make?
That tiny team produces over 12,000 pairs a year.
Wow. So I have to wonder, though, how does a 10-person shop like that survive? I mean, the global market is flooded with cheap gloves. Committing to U.S. sourcing has to be more expensive.
It is. It's a deliberate choice. They're targeting the premium, high-durability market. Our sources pointed out there are only like 5 glove companies left that actually manufacture in the USA.
So their survival is all about quality being its own advantage.
Exactly. You're buying durability, not disposability.
Mm.
And their heritage is just so deep. They got their start making gloves for the Navy during World War II.
So when you buy a pair of their gloves, you're literally supporting a tradition that's been serving the country since before most of us were even born.
That idea of historical staying power, it leads us right to the great American pastime.
Baseball.
We have to talk about Nakona baseball gloves from Nakona, Texas.
Oh, yeah. They're coming up on their 100-year anniversary in 2026. This is the ultimate American-made baseball glove. You see them on major leaguers' hands and on kids in t-ball.
It's a cultural touchstone. And the sources have this beautiful story from their history. Also, during World War II, they got a government contract to send gloves to soldiers overseas.
For what reason? Just for morale?
Essentially, yeah, to give the soldiers something that felt American, a tangible piece of home when they were in, hostile territory.
I just love that level of commitment. I mean, they could so obviously outsource and make way more money, but they just refused.
That refusal is everything. It's embodied in that famous quote from the founder, Bob Story. He said something like, "I'd rather take a bucket of worms and go fishing than import a Nakona glove."
That's not just branding. That is a real, genuine belief.
100%. It's about keeping those skilled jobs right there in Texas.
Okay, so if we shift from leather to the kitchen, you find a really similar heirloom mentality.
You do, with Smithy Ironware down in Charleston, South Carolina.
They're making these gorgeous cast iron skillets and carbon steel pans, and they're polished to like a mirror finish.
And they are explicitly built to be passed down through generations. They're made from 100% recycled American iron.
And they're poured and polished in an old naval base that they turned into a foundry.
So they're literally repurposing history to create new heirlooms.
But I have to ask the critical question again, just like with the gloves. If you make a product that lasts for 100 years, how do you get repeat business? Doesn't that kind of limit your growth?
That's a great question, and it's where you see the business strategy pivot. They aren't competing on volume. They compete on legacy, on collectability.
So they expand the product line instead.
Right. They go from the one skillet to carbon steel, different pots, accessories, or they just focus on that initial really high quality and price point that attracts a certain kind of customer.
And to round out this whole heritage segment, we found Klala Tool Works on Johns Island, South Carolina,
A small batch leather shop.
making belts by hand, American leather, solid U.S. hardware. They call their belts heirlooms that will never let you down.
And they stated so bluntly they have zero interest in outsourcing.
So the common thread here is this belief that the quality and the story behind that quality, it just justifies the cost.
It's a completely different economic model.
That's a perfect transition, actually, because we're moving from deep tradition to deep grit.
To these incredible entrepreneurial journeys,
Mhm.
people who started companies out of some kind of personal adversity or a social mission.
And I don't think anything demonstrates that kind of sheer force of will better than Crippling Hot Sauce out of Missouri.
Founded by Drew Davis.
Drew was born with cerebral palsy, and the origin story is just pure defiance. He started this company when he was 16.
He was a high school project.
It was a high school project that his teacher basically shot down, said it was unrealistic because of his disability.
So what did he do?
Well, basically out of spite, he learned how to make incredible hot sauce and launched the company anyway.
And that defiance has paid off. I mean, he sold over 500,000 bottles. The sources said he did something like $2.5 million in sales this year.
That is massive for an independent operation. But the business is more than just revenue. It's about purpose.
Right. 5% of every sale goes to cerebral palsy research.
And what I think is just so powerful, what gives the brand its whole identity, is that quote they put on the box.
It's not the hot sauce that put me in the wheelchair.
It's the cerebral palsy.
It's just an extraordinary example of using humor and self-awareness to build a brand. He's taking this painful reality and turning it into an engine for good. It's entrepreneurial mastery.
That same kind of narrative power, it extends into providing like actual physical safety for people.
With Prodigal Pottery from Central Alabama, it's a business ministry under a group called King's Home.
And they serve women and children who are fleeing just horrible situations, domestic violence, homelessness, trafficking.
And they make these beautiful custom-made mugs, bowls, Christmas ornaments. But you're right, the product is almost secondary.
The primary mission is providing dignified work and a safe place. It lets these women find hope, regain custody of their kids,
And achieve these huge milestones, like buying their first car or even their first house.
It's ceramics providing salvation. When you buy a mug, you are literally contributing to a safe wage and a pathway out of trauma.
And if we shift from that kind of collective healing to a more personal therapeutic creation, we find oddly sweet dolls.
From Salt Lake City, these are hand-sculpted, sort of creepy cute dolls.
Created by an artist named Lacey Michelle in her one-woman studio.
And her story is just remarkable. She basically turned the act of creating these dolls into her therapy after she survived a brain tumor while she was 27 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
So every single piece is infused with her experience, what she calls her gratitude and grit.
It really shows you the power of the artist's hand versus mass production. Her output is limited, maybe 150, 200 items for the holidays.
But the value isn't in the volume, it's in the story, in the resilience that's baked into every single doll.
And that theme of personal body positive creation, it takes a really interesting turn with Candle Tit out of Chicago.
Yeah, these are hand-cast candles made from real bodies. They're all about celebrating shape and self-love.
And what's fascinating is the contrast. The product can seem lighthearted, but its use can be incredibly serious and emotional.
Exactly. Some are bought just for fun, but the company says that others are purchased as a kind of farewell keepsake before a major surgery.
Especially for breast cancer survivors.
It's unbelievably touching. It helps people view their bodies, even parts that are going through this traumatic change, with tenderness instead of fear.
It's a sculptural act of acceptance. These aren't just products. They're tangible expressions of overcoming something huge.
All right, let's cleanse the palate a bit and move on to the taste of American production.
Yes. Let's start with Chukar Cherries from the Yakima Valley in Washington.
The founder, Pam Montgomery, she basically just revolutionized her little corner of the market. She decided to store sun-dried cherries without any added sugars or preservatives.
Which was the industry standard.
Right. And Washington is already one of the best places in the world to grow cherries, so by getting rid of the additives, they're just focusing on the pure intensity of the fruit.
And their scale is pretty impressive. Last year, they dried 700,000 pounds of cherries.
Goodness.
Employing about 75 people. It's a huge local success story built on a simple idea. Don't mess with nature's recipe.
That same commitment to time and quality continues with cured meats. We go to Portland, Oregon for Olympia Provisions.
Independently owned by Elias Cairo, who learned the trade through a traditional apprenticeship in Switzerland.
And that apprenticeship piece is so key because their whole philosophy is rooted in that old world method.
They craft tens of thousands of pounds of meat a week, but they say their secret is simple. No automation, no gimmicks, just skill, time, and care.
Which is just a world away from modern food production. They're selling time and patience in every slice.
And from cured meats, let's go to something sweet.
We're headed to Casper, Wyoming for Donell's Candies.
Since 1956, 3 generations of the Stepp family have been making toffees and chocolates using the same original recipes.
And the same copper kettles.
The same copper kettles from 1956. You're not just making candy at that point. You're preserving a process. You're buying a taste of Wyoming history.
And finally, a quick shout out to something we often overlook, the basic ingredients.
Whitest Stone Mountain Orchard, highlighted in our sources for its American-grown apples and pears.
It seems so simple, but here's where it gets really interesting. A small family farm like this focuses on all sorts of varieties, but the big commercial market, it only focuses on about 30 types of apples.
And yet, there are over 7,000 different apple varieties in the world.
Isn't that number just staggering? It shows you the diversity that small American farms hold and what we lose when we only focus on, large-scale commercial farming.
Absolutely.
Okay, for our final deep dive, we are looking at true innovation, sustainability, and let's call it unconventional creativity.
Let's start with a really beautiful environmental mission, the Albizia Project in Oahu, Hawaii.
Their mission is both economic and ecological. They take albizia, which is Hawaii's most invasive wood species,
and they turn it into these stunning high-end cutting boards, lamps, even surfboards. So the business itself helps restore the native forests.
That is just a masterstroke of business strategy. The founders, a husband and wife team, they got a $250,000 grant from the U.S. Forest Service when tourism dropped during COVID.
So they literally turned a huge ecological problem into a luxury good.
What's really unique is what they call their super localized domestic supply chain. You can trace the wood back to the exact tree and the person who cut it down.
So the gift you're giving is actually helping to cleanse the Hawaiian ecosystem. It's incredible.
So if the Albizia Project is about solving a problem with elegance, our last company, well, it's about turning a gag into a serious business.
We are heading to Pepon, Nebraska for Scraggly Bush.
This husband and wife team turned a high school trapping hobby and a gag wedding gift into a business.
The gift was the infamous fur squallet.
Which is, yes, exactly what it sounds like, a satin-lined squirrel wallet. They also sell raku and possum packs.
And here's the kicker. They started the company with a COVID stimulus check.
And now they make $250,000 a year. It's just a pure testament to finding a very, very specific niche market.
And it's important to stress, all the fur is ethically sourced from American hunters. No farmed furs. So they also have a very localized, authentic supply chain.
So after looking at this whole incredible collection, what's the through line? What does this all tell us about American production today?
I think the synthesis is pretty clear. American ingenuity is just extraordinarily adaptable. It ranges from, the institutional legacy of a Nakona, built on decades of tradition,
Right.
to a first-generation creator like Drew Davis, who turned adversity into a brand. They all represent this conscious choice to put quality and story over just pure global scale.
It reminds me of something the historian Ken Burns has said.
Yeah.
That America is this malleable thing, that it has to be constantly maintained and supported by us. And supporting these businesses feels like a way to do that. It's an active participation in keeping that spirit of craftsmanship and innovation going.
Exactly. Every single gift we've talked about today, a skillet, a candle, a jar of cherries, it comes with a deep, tangible story.
Narrative.
A narrative. And that narrative enhances the value of the physical thing way beyond its price tag. You're not just buying a thing, you're investing in a story.
So we've spent this deep dive highlighting American gifts that carry these powerful stories and histories. As you're shopping this season, just remember what we've shared. When you make your choices, what specific American story or legacy are you choosing to invest in? What deeper meaning do your gifts convey about the kind of country you want to support?